One of the popular MBA questions is related to current affairs. And at present times, very unfortunately, one such topic is Russian invasion of Ukraine. So in this video, we will do a small mock interview where the interviewer will ask you a chain of questions related to Russian invasion of Ukraine and how is a student expected to answer. The content of this video is meant essentially towards helping MBA students or corporate professionals appear for interviews and is therefore not a reflection of what may be the ideal situation when it comes to this situation, which generally can be said to be extremely unfortunate from a humanitarian point of view. So let's start with the first question, which would be, what do you know about Russia's invasion of Ukraine? Or why do you think Russia invaded Ukraine? So the answer here could probably be something like this. Sure, sir. Well, the invasion of Ukraine by Russia is because of various reasons. Some are likely to be very overt or very publicly known reasons, and the others may be covert, which may be Russia's intention in some of these situations. So the three publicly stated reasons are, number one, in the Luhansk and Donetsk region, there are atrocities which are being meted out, and there are allegations that genocide is happening against the people of Russian ethnicity. So towards the liberation of these two regions, Russia is starting this crusade as someone who's a white knight helping the Russian minorities in these regions. The second reason which Russia states is a deep concern about the stability of the region because NATO is continuously spreading eastwards. And this, Russia believes, could really be very deleterious to the peace of the entire Russian region. And therefore, it's an important step to ensure that Ukraine doesn't join NATO. And third area of concern which is stated is that Ukraine may eventually try to access nuclear weapons. And once that happens, the entire nation, not just for Russia, but for the entire surrounding bloc, could be a risk of having a nuclear flashpoint. So therefore, as far as Russia is stating its position, it's a mission towards greater peace, stability, and a more peaceful world order that it has done this invasion. However, when we look at the entire history, there are certain other pictures which may not have been presented in such an extrovert manner. But in my humble views, the three other factors which may be playing role is, number one, as far as Russia is concerned, it really has had a positioning in the recent times that it wants to expand its power. And for that, as far as Ukraine is concerned, it's in a very vital geopolitical location, somehow linking the Russia to the European nations, and therefore a loss of control of Ukraine could mean significant amount of reduction in Russia's overall geopolitical power. Therefore, Russia would want a friendly regime, somebody who is pro and is not taking up anti-Russia campaigns so vociferously as Prime Minister Zelensky has been doing as of now. So as far as Russian interest is concerned, there is very vital geopolitical importance of Ukraine. The second reason could be economic. While the entire zone of Donbass region and the previous zone of Crimea are very strategically located close to the Black Sea and therefore are very vital both in terms of agricultural granaries and the access to zones where there may be potential oil drilling opportunities. And also the fact goes that the huge amount of pipelines which are passing from Russia into Europe are passing through the Ukrainian belt. So once again, by the sheer economics of it, Russia would want a friendly regime. And finally, the overall social objective here could be that eventually Russia may want to have a situation where in some manner, whether it's politically possible or not, but at least in some manner to get the confederation of the states and try to revert to the order where Russia or CSI or CIS or ideally the erstwhile USSR could be reactivized, which would then mean that that confederation of the 15 countries combine and revert to a true global superpower, which USSR once claimed to be. Therefore, when I look at this attack, there are factors which are both publicly stated and factors which may have been the real reasons why Russia may have done this. So these are my thoughts, sir. I hope it satisfies your query. Now, moving on, the question number 2, which could follow up is, what are the big learnings? What does the world learn from this Russian invasion of Ukraine? And here we follow a rule of 3 approach. And the idea in these questions is to take a helicopter view, a broad philosophical overview, and rather than trying to criticize any one party or trying to be sympathetic towards any other, you present a broader view. In this case, if we were to assume Russia as the predator and therefore in a position where they have clearly violated the norms, you could start with the first sentence being slightly critical of that, but then move on to bigger geopolitical learnings. So let's demonstrate the second question, that what are the 3 big learnings for the world from the present situation? Sure, sir. Happy to answer that. Sir, there is no gainsaying the fact that the act of such kind of an offensive invasion is really against the principles of humanity and therefore is deplorable. However, as we try to analyze it dispassionately, there are 3 very important learnings for the world. Number 1, no matter what we talk about the global peace and global harmony, even today, it has to be regrettably noted that might is right. USA and various other bodies, whatever they may want or may try, at this juncture at least, nobody is in a position to stop Russia. So using the might of its armed forces, the threat of its nuclear arsenal, it has literally browbeaten everybody to stay quiet, and it has had its way and invaded. This probably implies that for smaller nations, there is a strategic lesson that when it comes to dealing with bigger powers, they may have to leverage diplomacy channels more ferociously and not leave the situation till the very last hour when nothing can be done. The second important lesson is that while it's said an enemy's enemy is your friend, however, quite often these kind of alliances won't work unless you are fully committed. So Ukraine, having registered as an aspirant at the Nato, may have expected the world to come to its support, but the fact is today that everybody has directly or indirectly washed their hands. While imposing economic sanctions these sanctions will have long-term implications, but at least in the short term, neither the US nor the Nato are there to fight for Ukraine to try and move Russia out of those kind of terrains. Therefore, while strategic reliance on enemy's enemy may be a vital move, however, it's vital to know when to stem the alliance more forcefully. And the third very important learning is that at the end of the day, it's each nation for itself. So if you look at the positions which various nations have occupied, the humanitarian cause would have actually sort of demanded that everybody espouses with unequivocal vociferousness to appeal Russia to stop the invasion immediately. However, even if you look at India's case, nations have tried to put their own interest and make sure that they are not taking postures which could be, in the long run, deleterious to their own cause. So therefore, it's very vital that each nation, while looking at the bigger picture, should also do very shrewd and astute geopolitical analysis of its position and then plan its chart. So these are my thoughts, sir. I hope it satisfies your query. And now, let's come to the last question. What are the 3 implications for India? How do you think India will get affected? So once again, we try to give a broad perspective and a macro picture in this answer. Sure, sir. Happy to answer that. So while there are many implications, however, please allow me to present 3 broad implications. First is economic, second is geopolitical, and third would be social. So on the economic front, well, India has a huge international trade, and therefore the global trend of imposing sanctions would mean that India cannot do that kind of a free trade with Russia without drawing the ire of the United Nations, the US and the UK. And therefore, economically, India may have to see that what kind of mechanisms India would have to evolve by abstaining from the vote which was criticizing Russia in the United Nations. India may have won some brownie points in the eyes of Russia, but then opening a Indo-Rupee versus ruble account, And then having some barter trades may be the way going forward as far as the economic issue is concerned. The second thing, which is very vital, is geopolitical. Now, it is very closely being monitored that will the world revert to a bipolar order where the USSR of the erstwhile, or the Russian Empire as we may call them today, may gain a position where it's strong enough to challenge USA, at least in some sort of a collaboration with China. So geopolitically, India would have to be very careful to ensure that it is doing reasonable diplomacy channels with Russia, to ensure that the arms support continues, the defense collaboration continues, and most importantly, India doesn't allow Russia to slip into the welcoming embrace of China, which could be really a disaster. So to that extent, the geopolitical implications are very severe. And number three is the social, or may I call the global implications that India may have to resort to very tactful tightrope walking, where it doesn't want to annoy United Nations and United States, if I may use that terminology, versus making sure that Russia still remains a friendly alliance. Therefore, to the old era of non-aligned movement, India may have to do one step further towards ensuring that we remain on friendly terms with United Nations and also with Russia, so that our own interests are well protected. So these are my thoughts, sir. I hope these satisfy your query. So please remember, as I end this video, it's very important to present unbiased and dispassionate view. Certain actions like an offensive invasion, which is generally very much against the concept of mankind or humanity, can be definitely castigated. But thereafter, try to give 2 or 3 reasons for whatever is happening and try to give 1 or 2 solutions of how the problem can be solved. So I hope this video is helpful, and if you have liked it, please subscribe to our channel, because we are continuously launching videos to prepare you for your interviews, group discussions, WAC, and overall oratory abilities. This is Gagan Singh signing off for the day. May the power of winning edge persona ever be with you.